Hi friends, welcome back to another tutorial, and today we learn how to crochet this arm sweater. So this is an easy and beginner friendly pattern, and you're going to need a worsted weight yarn, 4.5 and 4.0 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, darning needle and a tape measure, and then we'll work it from the cuff area all the way to the neck area. Finish one sleeve, then work on the other sleeve, then join them as you work on the neck ribbing. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial. For this tutorial, you're going to need a worsted weight yarn. I'm using this seal. It's 2-ply. It's written here chunky, but it's a category 4 yarn. You also need a pair of scissors, a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, a tape measure, and darning needle. To begin, you're going to start by making a slip knot, and to do that, you're going to take your yarn, take the working yarn, wrap it around your index finger, and let it go above the tail, and then that loop that you've created, you're going to pick the working yarn through that loop, then pull it through. So insert your hook in that slip knot, and then you're going to chain 90. So 90 will be the length from the cuff here all the way to the underarm. If you want a shorter length, you're going to chain less. If you want more, you're going to chain more. So I'm going to chain 90, and then I'll meet you in row 1. When you have your 90 chains, this is a size medium. If you're working a size small and extra small, you're going to chain 80. So when you have the 90 chains, you're going to chain 1. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, but it will help us in working in row 1. So for row 1, you're going to work on these back bumps here. Do not work through the chain loops. Just turn your work, and then you're going to work through these back bumps. So skip the first back bump, this very first one, and on the second one you're going to insert your hook through the back bump, then yarn over, pull through the stitch, the chain stitch, then pull through the loop on your hook. So that's your first slip stitch. You're going to work slip stitches until you have a total of 20 slip stitches. So the second one, 3, 4, and continue doing this. When you have 20, I'll meet you when you're starting the half double crochet stitches. So I already have my 20 slip stitches, and for the next stitch you're going to work a half double crochet in the back bump. So yarn over, turn your work, insert your hook in that back bump, yarn over, pull through the chain stitch. You'll have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all the 3 loops, and repeat this all the way to the end of your first row. So you can pause here, finish your row, and then I'll meet you in row 2. At the end of row 1, you should have 70 half double crochet stitches and 20 slip stitches if you're working the medium size. If you're working the small size, you'll have 60 of these half double crochet stitches and then 20 of the slip stitches. So for row 2, you're going to chain 1, 2, then turn your work. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Then you're going to yarn over, and for this first stitch, you're going to go through both loops. Then make your first half double crochet, and then you're going to work half double crochet back loop only in each of the half double crochet stitches. So go through the back loop, you're going to go and you're going to leave this front loop. Don't go through the front loop, just go through the loop at the back, then half double crochet, and continue placing half double crochet in the back loop only until you reach the last half double crochet stitch. So again, you can pause here, work your half double crochet back loop only, and then I'll meet you at the end of the half double crochet stitches when you're starting to work on the slip stitches. You can put a stitch marker on your very first slip stitch so that you know when to start the slip stitches, or when to finish the half double crochet back loop only. After working all the way to the last half double crochet stitch, I shall have, or you shall have, 70 half double crochet stitches. That is what I have. And then for the next 20 stitches, you're going to work half double crochet slip stitch back loop only. So you're going to yarn over, go through the back loop of that first slip stitch, then insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the stitch. Then you're going to take the very same loop and pull it through the 2 loops on the hook. So that's our first half double slip stitch, back loop only. Then you're going to take our marker and place it in that stitch so that we'll know when to stop in our next row of slip stitches. Then yarn over, go in the very next stitch, repeat the same, working a half double crochet slip stitch. Then do this for every stitch to the end. You should have a total of 20 half double crochet slip stitch back loop only. So pause and finish your stitches, then I'll meet you in row 3. So at the end of your row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And for row 3, we're going to work slip stitch back loop only for the first 20 stitches. So locate the back loop, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the loop and pull through the loop on your hook. Go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, pull through the loop on your hook, and continue working slip stitches back loop only all the way until you reach your stitch marker. So when you reach your stitch marker, remember the stitch that we marked was our first half double crochet slip stitch back loop only. So you're going to finish your last slip stitch in that stitch, then move your marker to the stitch at the top. And then from here, you're going to work half double crochet back loop only. So yarn over, go in the back loop of the next half double crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 3 loops. Then repeat this all the way to the end of your row 3. Then I'll meet you when you're adding some few stitches as you progress on. So again, pause here, finish your row, and then I'll meet you in the next step. After working all the way to the end of row 3, you're going to chain 6 to add length or to add more rows to our work. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the chain 6 will be 5 stitches in the turning chain. The last chain does not count as a stitch. And you're going to turn your work, yarn over, skip the first chain. In the second chain, you're going to work a half double crochet, then half double crochet in the next 4 chains. After working in all the chain stitches, you're going to start working in the back loop only of the half double crochet stitches. So yarn over, insert a hook in the back loop only of the next half double crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and continue placing half double crochet back loop only in every stitch until you reach the end of this row 4. When you reach the stitch with marker, you're going to work a half double crochet slip stitch back loop only. So yarn over, go in the back loop of that stitch with the marker, then pull through the stitch and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to repeat this all the way to the end of your At the end of row 4, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. So I'll show you the pattern repeat for the next 6 rows. So for row 5, you're going to repeat your row 3 pattern, work slip stitches in the first 20 stitches, then half double, back loop only all the way until you reach the very last stitch here. Then you chain 6, turn your work, and repeat row 4 pattern by working half double crochet in the first 5 chain stitches. Then you continue half double crochet back loop only in each of these stitches all the way until the last half double crochet stitch. Then work half double slip stitch in the back loop only of the last 12 stitches. So you're going to repeat that until you have a total of 10 rows. So at the end of row 10, you should have a total of 90 half double crochet stitches in the back loop only. And then you're going to have your 20 stitches constant here for the cuff area. So continue with that, and then I'll meet you in row 11. So at the end of your row 10, this is how your work should look like. And if you had 70 half double crochet stitches, you're going to have 90 because we've added 5, 5, 5, 5. So we added 20 stitches. So at the end of your row 10, you should have a total of 90 half double crochet back loop only, and then 20 at the cuff area. So for row 11, you're going to start, make a chain 1, then turn your work, and you're not going to increase on this row, you're going to work only on the 90 plus 20 stitches. So start with slip stitch in the first 20 stitches, working in the back loop only. So just work slip stitch on the back loop only until you reach your stitch with marker or your last slip stitch on this row, and then we'll proceed from there. After working 20 slip stitches, you're going to place your marker on that last stitch. Then proceed with half double crochet back loop only on each stitch all the way to the end of row 11. So just work half double crochet back loop only all the way, and I'll meet you when you're turning to row 12. At the end of row 11, you're going to chain 1, then turn your work. We're not So after working all the way to your last half double crochet back loop only, and you have your stitch marker in the next stitch, you're going to yarn over, go in the back loop only of that stitch, then work half double slip stitch. Then you're going to repeat half double slip stitch back loop only all the way to the end of the row. So repeat that, and then I'll meet you at the very end, then I show you the pattern repeat. So you reach the end of your 12th row, you shall have 90 half double back loop only, and then 20 half double slip stitch back loop only. So your pattern repeat is going to be row 11 and row 12. So for row 13, you're going to turn your work, slip stitch in the first 20 stitches, then half double crochet back loop only all the way to the end. And then for row 14, you're going to work half double crochet back loop, always chain 1 at the end of each row. So half double back loop only all the way until you reach your stitch marker here, or the cuff stitches, then place half double, slip stitch, back loop only all the way to the end. So you're going to repeat the last 2 rows until you have a total of 26 rows or 16 rows for the constant rows without increasing. So when you start counting here, on your 11th row, you should have a total of 16. So go ahead, finish your 26 rows in total, and then I'll meet you in row 27. So I went ahead and finished my 26 rows, and this is how the piece looks like at this point. And from the next row, from row 27, you're going to start now the decreases, like on this other side. So insert a hook in the back loop of the first stitch and work a slip stitch. Then do this for the next 19 stitches. You should have 20 slip stitches here at the cuff. So go ahead and finish that, and I'll meet you after working the stitch on this marker. So I went ahead and finished my 20 stitches and replaced my marker to that stitch at the top. And then you're going to work half double crochet back loop only until you have 85 stitches. So remember, on the increase side, we're increasing with 5 stitches. So on this decrease, you're going to decrease by 5. So you're going to work half double crochet back loop only until you have 85 half double crochet stitches. Because we had 90, so you're not going to work in the last 5 stitches. So work half double crochet back loop only until you have 85 stitches. And if you want the count for other sizes, please check the written pattern in the blog that I'll leave in the description box below. Just work half double crochet back loop only all the way until you have 5 stitches remaining. So you pause here, and then we'll meet you in the next row. So I've reached my 85th stitch here, and I have 5 stitches remaining. So I won't work on the 5. I'll chain 1, then turn my work to row 28. So for row 28, you're going to work half double crochet back loop only in the first 85 stitches. So yarn over, go in the back loop only and work your half double crochet stitches until you reach the stitch with marker. When you reach the slip stitches, you're going to work half double crochet slip stitch back loop only. So yarn over, go in the back loop only of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through and pull through the 2 loops on your hook, then replace your marker to that top stitch. Then continue working half double crochet slip stitch back loop only all the way to the end of the row. When you reach the end, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Then for row 29, we're going to repeat our row 27 pattern. Work your slip stitch back loop only until you reach the marker. Then you're going to work half double crochet back loop only until you have 5 stitches remaining. So you're going to stop when you have 5 stitches remaining here at the end. So start with your slip stitches, then I'll meet you when you're working the half double crochet back loop only. After working the slip stitches, remember to place your marker on that last slip stitch. And then you're going to work half double crochet back loop only in the half double crochet stitches all the way until you have 5 stitches remaining. So when you count your stitches, you should have 80 half double crochet stitches. So just work that pattern, half double crochet back loop only till you have your 80 half double crochet stitches, or until you have 5 stitches remaining here at the end. So pause at this point, finish your row, and then I'll meet you in the next row. At the end of row 29, you should have 80 stitches if you're working with my stitch count. And do not work on the last 5 stitches. You're going to skip them, then turn your work. So chain 1, turn your work, and row 30, we're going to repeat row 28 pattern. So remember, row 28, we chain 1 and then work half double crochet, back loop only in every half double crochet stitch, and then half double slip stitch in the last 20 stitches. So that's what you're going to do here. Half double crochet in the back loop only on each half double crochet stitch, and repeat that all the way until you reach your stitch marker. And starting from the stitch with marker, you're going to work half double crochet, slip stitch, back loop only to the end of your row. So do that, and then I'll meet you in row 31. At the end of row 30, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And then for row 31, you're going to start with slip stitch in the first 20 stitches, working in the back loop only. When you through your slip stitches, you're going to work half double crochet, back loop only in the first 65 half double crochet stitches. First 75. So remember, we had 90 stitches, then 85 because we decreased with 85 here. Then we have 80 stitches here. So the next row you should have 75 half double crochet, back loop only stitches. So stop when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches remaining. So you're going to stop after working on the last 6th stitch here. So do that, and then I'll meet you in the next row, or row 32. At the end of row 31, remember, you will leave the last 5 stitches, do not work on them. Then chain 1, turn your work. And for row 32, you're going to repeat our row 30 pattern. Work half double crochet, back loop only in the first stitch, and then do that in each of the half double crochet stitches. Then when you reach your stitch marker or the last 20 stitches, you're going to work half double crochet, slip stitch in the back loop only. So finish that row, and then I'll meet you in the next row, which will be row 33. So when you reach the end of your row 32, you're going to chain 1 and work one last decrease. So turn your work, then work your slip stitch in the very first 20 stitches, working in the back loop only, and do that until you reach the stitch with marker. When you reach your stitch with marker, you're going to replace the marker to that top stitch, and then continue in the half double crochet stitches by working half double crochet in the back loop only all the way until you have 5 stitches remaining. So this row we have 75 stitches. So your next row, row 33, you're going to have 70 stitches. Always leave 5 stitches here at the end when you're working a decrease. So work in each stitch, and then when you have 5 stitches remaining, I'll meet you in the next row, which will be our row 34. So at the end of row 33, remember, this is our last decrease, so leave 5 stitches at the end of that row. Do not work in the stitches. Then chain 1. At this point, you should have 70 half double crochet stitches and 20 slip stitches here at the cuff area. Then turn your work, and for our row 34, you're going to yarn over, work slip stitches, back loop only, half double crochet, back loop only in the 70 half double crochet stitches, or in each half double crochet stitch when you're working with fewer stitches. So do that until you reach the stitch just before marker. Then finish your last 20 stitches with half double crochet, slip stitch, back loop only. So do that, and then I'll meet you at the end of the row and turn into our last row. So you reach the end of row 34, you're going to chain 1 and finish off your last row. Turn your work, slip stitch in the first 20 slip stitches or the first 20 stitches. After working your first 20 stitches, you can now remove your marker because it's the last stitch. Then finish with half double crochet, back loop only in the last 70 stitches. So do that, and then I'll meet you when you're now joining the two panels to create our sleeve. So at the end of your row 35, you're going to chain 1 and pull your yarn. So from this point, you're going to fold our sleeve in half and then join this seam here from the armhole area all the way to the end of the cuff. So to do that, you're going to turn your work with the same 4.5mm hook. You're going to insert your hook in that loop, and then you're going to join it with a slip stitch. So go through the front loop of this row. So remember, this is our front loop, and then this is the back loop. So you want to go through the front loop on this side, and then pick the other side and go through the front loop of that other side. Then yarn over, pull through all the loops. Go in the next stitch, front loops only, and do the same. Insert hook in the front loop on this side, or the loop that is towards you, closer to you. Go in the next side, the loop closer to you, and work a slip stitch. And you're going to do this all the way to the end of the cuff area, then chain 1 and cut your yarn. When you're through with your seam, after working the last stitches here, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. And pull it through that chain. So this will be our wrong side. So turn your work to the right side. And this is how the seam looks like. So to work on the armhole area, this part, you're going to start on this very first stitch here on the last row of increases, or where we have 90 stitches. So make a slip knot, insert your hook, then you want to go in the very first stitch there on that last row, then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops. So that will be our standing single crochet, then single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then in order to jump in this next stitch here, and then you're going to work a single crochet in this row here. So in between the 2 rows, so you have this row and you have this row that you are working on, go in between and work a single crochet, then turn to these 5 stitches on this other row, single crochet in each stitch, then go in the space or go in that stitch between the 2 rows. You'll find that stitch there. That is where you're going to insert your hook and work a single crochet, then single crochet in the next 5 stitches of the next row. Work in that stitch between the 2 rows, then proceed to the 5 stitches of the next row. So when you reach the end of the row stitches, you're going to work single crochet in the next stitch, then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, You should have a total of 26 single crochet stitches on this side, and then turn to this other side, work for your first 3 single crochet stitches in the next 3 row stitches. You can place the stitches randomly if you don't find the exact stitches, and then you come to this other side and start working on the row stitches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then work in that row between the 2 rows, or in that stitch between the 2 rows. Then jump to these other stitches and continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch. So that is what you're going to do, and at the end you shall have a total of 52 single crochet stitches around the armhole area. If you have more or less, there's no problem. Just make sure that it's close to 52, so you can have at least 2 stitches, few or 2 stitches more. Then I'll meet you in row 2 of the armhole area. Finish your work on this last stitch of this other side. So when you're through with your first row, you're going to chain 1 and turn to row 2. And for row 2, we're going to work half double crochet, slip stitch, back loop only all the way to the end. So when you have your 52 single crochet stitches, you're going to have 52 half double, back loop only. The yarn over, go in the back loop of the first stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Do this all the way to the end. Then I'll meet you in your third row of the armhole part. So when you reach the end of your row 2 for the armhole area, you're going to chain 1, turn to the right side, then you're going to work slip stitches on this row. So insert your hook in the back loop only and work a slip stitch. Slip stitch, back loop only all the way to the end of the row 3. So when you reach the end of row 3, you're going to chain 1 and turn to row 4. And row 4, you're going to repeat row 2 pattern by turning your work and working half double crochet, slip stitch, back loop only all the way to the end. Row 5, you're going to repeat row 3, chain 1, slip stitch, back loop only all the way to the end. And you're going to repeat those 2 rows until you have a total of 7 rows. Then you're going to chain 1, cut your yarn, and do the same for the other sleeve. But remember, for the other sleeve, do not chain 1, do not cut your yarn at the end of your 7th row of this armhole area. So do that, finish your second sleeve, and then I'll meet you when you're now joining the shoulders and then working the neck ribbing. So after finishing the 2 pieces, do not cut yarn at the end of the second piece because you're going to work single crochet stitches along this shoulder area. So insert your hook and then chain 1. I already chained 1 after the last slip stitch here. Now you're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the 7 rows, but you can also have 6 because the slip stitches are too tiny, so you can have 6 single crochets along the 7 rows. So I've managed to fix 7 single crochet stitches, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet followed by 1 single crochet in the next half double crochet row, followed by 2 single crochet in the next half double crochet row all the way until you reach the end of the half double crochet rows. So 1 in the next, then 2 in this next one. So I'm going to put my first one in this space and then the second one around that stitch. Then 1 in the next half double crochet, 2 in the next. So I'm going to put my first one in this space and then the next one around the half double crochet stitch. 1 in the next half double crochet, so I'm going to put it around this double crochet stitch, and then 2 in the next half double crochet. So I'll start with 1 in this space and then another one around the stitch. So do that until you reach the slip stitch and this half double crochet slip stitch rows. Work 1 single crochet in each of those rows. You can have 7 or 6, and then I'll meet you at the end. So you reach the end of that first sleeve, you're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can chain between 6 to 10 depending on how tight you want the neck area to be or how loose you'd like it to be. So I'm going to work with 8 chains. Then you're going to pick the next sleeve and go in that first stitch. The sleeve area or the armhole area should face the inside of your work. So you're going to go in that very last stitch that we worked on. Place 1 single crochet in each of the first 7 rows. You can have also 6. So remember, if you had 6 here and 6 here, you should have 6 here and here. If you had 7, have 7 in all the rows. So I'm going to place 1 single crochet in each row and then I'll meet you in the half double crochet rows. So after working the single crochet stitches in the slip stitch and half double slip stitch rows, and you're here at the half double crochet rows, you're going to work 1 single crochet around the first half double crochet, then 2 single crochet around the next half double crochet. One single crochet around the next half double crochet and 2 around the next. I'll start with 1 in this space and then 1 around the main stitch. 1 single crochet in the next one, 2 around the next one. Also repeat this until the end of the half double crochets, and then when you reach the slip stitches, do the same. If you had 7 in the first slip stitch and half double slip stitch rows, you shall have 7 in this last one. Then I'll meet you when you're finishing off and joining it to this first sleeve. At the end of your shoulder rows, you're going to chain another 8. If you chained 8 in front, if you chain 10, you're going to chain 10 in this side. If you chain 6, you're going to chain 6. So I chained 8, I'm going to chain 8. Then slip stitch in the first single crochet stitch on this first sleeve. So you're going to jump, or you're going to go to the neck ribbing, and for that you're going to change to a 4mm crochet hook. So with your hook you're going to chain 20. Depending on how long you want the neck want to be, you can chain 20, you can chain even 10, you can chain 25 or 30 if you want it longer. So I'm going to chain 20. So when you have your 20 chains, you're going to add one more chain to turn to row 1. The one chain that we've added does not count as a stitch. So skip that chain, turn your work, and then work in the back bumps. We're going to work in these back bumps here at the back. So go in the first back, sorry, the second one. You're going to skip the first one because you've skipped the first chain. So in the next chain, insert a hook in the back bump, then work a single crochet. And continue placing one single crochet in each back bump until you reach the end of the chains, or until you have 20 single crochet stitches. So when you reach the end of the chains, you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches on our sleeve rows. So go in the next stitch, work a slip stitch, then slip stitch in the next stitch, and turn to row 2. I like to work with my yarn at the front of my rows, but you can do it either way. So after turning your work, you're going to skip the first 2 slip stitches and start working on the row stitches. So going in the first stitch, you're going to work a single crochet in the back loop only. Then continue placing single crochets in the back loop only until you reach the end of the row. When you reach the last stitch, instead of going through the back loop only, you're going to go through both loops of that last stitch just to make it secure. Then chain 1 and turn to row 3. So row 3, we're going to repeat row 1, but instead of working the back bumps, we're going to work in the back loop only. So locate the back loop only of the first stitch, then work a single crochet, then single crochet back loop only in the next stitches until you reach the end of these row stitches. After you've worked through your last single crochet stitch, you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So go in the next, this will be the third stitch, slip stitch in it, then go in the 4th stitch and work a slip stitch. Then turn your work and repeat row 2. Skip the 2 slip stitches and start working in the first single crochet stitch by placing single crochet in the back loop only. Then continue single crochet back loop only all the way. When you reach the last stitch, you're going to go through both loops. Then reach the last stitch, go through both loops, then chain 1 and turn your work. So for the next rows, you're going to repeat the last 2 rows, that is row 3 and row 4, until you reach the end of your rows. So you're going to go through this sleeve, finish the sleeve, do the same for the chain stitches, do the same for this other side of the sleeve, do it for the last chain stitches, and then I'll meet you at the very end when you're joining now your neck ribbing. After working all the way to the last chain stitch here, your work should end at the top of your neck ribbing, but if it ends at the bottom of the neck ribbing, just slip stitch in that next chain and work your last row. Then you're going to chain 1 at the end of the neck ribbing. You can either turn your work to the wrong side or join it on this side because it's going to be the back of your neckband. So just turn your work and then you're going to slip stitch on both sides. So insert your needle in the back loop of this one and then in the back loop of the other one. Yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. So that's a slip stitch join, and you're going to do that all the way to the end. Go in the next stitch, through both the back loops, then work your slip stitch. Just repeat that all the way to the end. Then I'll meet you at the very last join here. After working all the way to the end, you're going to chain one and just cut your yarn, leaving about 6 inches of tail. Then using your darning needle, you're going to weave in your tail along this one, along the join part on the inside, because this is going to be the wrong side, then this is the right side. But you can have either way because it's a reversible cardigan or it's a reversible sweater. So you can wear it from both sides. You can either turn it on this side and have this one as your right side. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, please stay safe. God bless you and bye.